Like and subscribe right now, or this spider will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Searching for things with metal detectors has been a great hobby among amateurs and professionals alike since its development in the 1920s, because there's really no telling what you might find. In this video, we'll show you some of the hilarious and awesome things that people found with metal detectors. Stay tuned till the end and have a look at all of the mind-blowing entries we have on our list. Number 10. The Boot of Cortez. Even though deserts look barren, they might be rich in valuable metals, such as one lucky metal detectorist discovered in 1989. One day, some amateur metal hunters from Mexico headed to RadioShack and bought a relatively cheap metal detector just to see what they could find in their surroundings. After a few days of looking but finding nothing, they stumbled upon a hotspot. Expecting another piece of junk, when they unearthed the stuff that beeped the metal detector, they couldn't believe their eyes, because they dug up a 26.6-pound nugget of gold, which eventually earned the name the Boot of Cortez. This fantastic find was the largest piece of gold to have ever been found in the Western Hemisphere. The Boot of Cortez was then auctioned off for $1.2 million. This fantastic discovery should now inspire everyone to head over to their local RadioShack or any other store to buy their metal detector. Number 9. Torque finds. If you're looking for more inspiration, here's another story of a guy that bought a random metal detector and hit the jackpot. One day, a 35-year-old man named Dave Booth bought a metal detector, and then after 5 days, he went for his first ever treasure hunt in Stirlingshire, Scotland. After looking for only an hour, he stumbled upon necklaces made of copper, gold, and silver. These necklaces were later found to be ancient and were called torques, theorized to be at least 2,000 years old. And where were they hiding? Well, just a half a foot below the surface, ready to be unearthed by a lucky treasure hunter. When he had them appraised, they were found to be worth $500,000. We'd like to call it an awesome find and beginner's luck. This one has truly inspired us to go and buy a metal detector, because finding jewelry worth $500,000 in just 1 hour of searching is just too tempting to resist. But you gotta have luck by your side. Number 8. Antique gold chalice. Next time you head out to the beach, you might want to bring along a metal detector, because in 2008, a man named Mike DeMar was searching for treasure along the coast of Key West when he struck gold. It's nothing new that tons of trash and especially aluminum cans wash up on the shore frequently, so he thought this metal detector just found another piece of junk. When he was digging it up, he didn't exactly know what it was and thought that it might just be a beer can. But oh boy, he was totally wrong. When he pulled it out of the sand, he realized what he found was a solid gold goblet that weighed nearly a pound. After having it analyzed and appraised, he found this chalice was 385 years old and was dropped from a ship called the Santa Margarita that sank in 1622. But here's the big question: how much was it worth? Well, as it turns out, it was a whopping $1 million, which is not too bad for a day at the beach. By the looks of it, your chance to get rich while sunbathing appears to be a little higher than your chances of winning the lottery, so get your priorities straight, guys. Number 7. Anglo-Saxon treasure. Now, you don't necessarily have to head to the beach or even spend hours in the scorching desert to find some great treasures. One man found everything he'd been looking for right in his own backyard. One day in 2009, a man named Terry Herbert decided to give his farmland, located in Staffordshire, England, a try with his metal detector. Little did he know that when he acquired the land, he was also given the deal of a lifetime. On day 1, he just uncovered a few interesting finds, but in just 5 days, he had found enough golden artifacts to fill up 244 bags. And that's when he knew he was onto something. After more digging and searching, he had found 3,500 pieces of artifacts, and these were things that ranged from garnet to silver and gold, which when put together would have created hundreds of complete relics from the early Anglo-Saxon period. This find came to be known as the Staffordshire Hoard and was valued to be approximately $5.3 million. It's crazy to think that all of it was just lying there in his backyard the whole time. Number 6. Hidden cash. Speaking of finding things in your backyard, it might not be the best spot to hide your stolen cash. Many people suspected that one of the post office employees had been stealing money out of the government's treasury for years, so postal inspectors jumped at the first chance they could to figure out if their suspicions were true and if the guy had really been stealing money or not. In 1946, after borrowing a metal detector from the U.S. Army, they began searching the property of one of their employees. When they scanned the backyard during their hunt, the metal detector went off, and after digging 9 feet down, they found jars, cans, and even a stove that was full of thousands of dollars of cash. $153,150 to be exact. Fortunately for the employee, he'd been dead before they actually got a hold of it. Otherwise, you can well imagine what would have happened to him. Number 5. The Ringlemere Cup. Sometimes your hobbies can make you rich, just as happened for a guy named Cliff Bradshaw. Cliff, who was a retired electrician, had always loved archaeology and metal detecting, so he decided to make a hobby out of it. One day in 2001, while he was scanning a field in East Kent, England, he found a crumpled piece of metal. However, it was not just any metal object, it was a distorted goblet made up of gold and was from the Bronze Age, somewhere between 1700 to 1500 BC. As it turns out, there were only 6 others like this one in the world, with this one being the second to be found in Britain. Not only are these chalices valuable as ancient finds, but they also reveal a great amount of history. For example, some of the other similar-looking goblets from that era were found near the Mediterranean, which alludes that the Cornish and the Greeks had really close ties. A British museum bought the crushed gold goblet from him for $520,000. And being the great guy that he is, he split the money with his family, who owned the land where the chalice was found. I mean, who really needs to save up for retirement when you have a metal detector? Number 4. Roman Remains. Sometimes when you're digging up ancient artifacts, you're bound to find the unexpected. Metal detectorists Dave Derby and Alan Standish were scanning a site that was known to yield valuable artifacts in Nether Hayford, but they were not actually prepared for what they found and had their minds blown away when they actually unearthed these objects. After receiving a signal from their detector, they began digging, and shortly after that, they stumbled upon bones. Now, to keep on digging, they needed a special license and a team to excavate the land. As it turned out, what they'd uncovered were 2 graves, and their metal detector sensed the shield that was buried with a man who was from the 5th century. The second grave was of a teenage girl from the 6th century. Then, over the course of 10 years, 6 rings, 20 brooches, 650 coins, 32,000 animal bones, and 20,000 pot fragments at that same location were found. Number 3. Roman Coins. What's better than finding a skeleton from the Roman era? Finding their stash of cash, of course. In 2009, 30-year-old newbie metal detectorist Nick Davies was on his first metal detecting adventure, looking for hidden gems in Shropshire when his metal detector started beeping. He dug up an extremely heavy clay pot weighing over 70 pounds. When he looked inside, he knew that he'd found a fortune, as he found approximately 10,000 bronze and silver coins from the Roman era. That made it the largest collection of Roman coins ever found in the area. An analysis of the collection, which then was named Shrewsbury Hoard, dated the coins to between 320 and 340 AD, some of which were made in the honor of the anniversary of the foundation of Rome and Constantinople. Now, considering that Nick didn't have the permission to be at that stretch of land in the first place, he by law was not entitled to any of the rewards. And with that, it's now time for today's subscriber pick. Today's photo was sent to us by a subscriber. If you come across a photo online and you want to know more details about it, just send it over to us. We might even feature it on a future video. Number 2. One Australian gold prospector hit pay dirt and found the largest gold nugget in the world. The man, described as an amateur explorer, unearthed a 5.5 kilogram golden nugget 60 centimeters in the ground outside Ballarat, a city about an hour-and-a-half drive west of Melbourne. Experts say the value of the find is at least $300,000. If we find the largest gold nugget in the world, we just simply wouldn't tell anyone. What about you? Number 1. Antique pendant. Who says you have to be an adult or even enrolled in kindergarten to be able to find valuables with a metal detector? 4-year-old James Hyatt and his father were in a field located in Hockley hunting for treasure with their metal detector when they unearthed the find of a lifetime. They began digging upon the beep of the detector, and sitting a few inches below the surface was a 16th century golden pendant. On the front of the pendant was an engraving of the Virgin Mary wearing a cross as well as the 5 wounds of Christ. After being valued at the British Museum, it was found to be worth $2.7 million. The family decided if they ever sold it, they'd split the cash with the owner of the field that they found it in. Do you know of any other great metal detector finds that aren't on our list? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.